Hi there, and welcome back. I'm Nicholas with Resco's Knowledge Team, and you are watching the second episode of our brand new series of partner update videos. If this is your first episode, we've created these resources to support you, our Resco partners, in discovering new opportunities with advanced mobile solutions for Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. Whether you aim to deepen your expertise or deliver top-performing apps to your clients, you're in the right place. In this episode, we're going to delve into a range of exciting updates and insights. We start with an introduction to Wristask, the latest software-only solution from our friends at NiviWatch, bringing seamless task management right to your smartwatch. Next, we cover some of the highlights from Directions EMEA, including a first-hand recap from Rick McCutcheon himself. After that, we've got some practical tips and a technical use case that you can bring directly into work with your clients. Finally, we'll wrap things up with a look at the upcoming changes to our certification program, plus a sneak peek at what to expect in our upcoming Masterclass. First things first, however, Ivan, tell us all about Wristask.
Nick, thank you for the introduction. I'm really excited to be here today and be part of this webinar. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ivan Stano. I'm the VP at Resco, and I'm based in Boston, Massachusetts, USA. Today is a special day for me. I've been with Resco for many, many years, and since the very beginning, we dedicated our mission and purpose to provide meaningful solutions in a form of mobile applications that serve people who work in the field. Professions like field service technicians, inspectors, auditors, sales reps, traveling salespeople, and sales executives who spend significant time traveling, visiting their clients, customers, sites, different locations where they have to do their job. At the same time, we understand that the world's much bigger than that, right? So how big is the world really? The term many of you definitely heard already, deskless workers. People who work all around the world in many different industries, hospitality, retail, manufacturing, general services, cleaning, etc., etc. They account for about 80% of the global workforce. How many that is in real numbers? That's about 2.7 billion workers around the globe. Staggering number. There's a little paradox there. We looked into that deeper and found a lot of papers and research on how this massive workforce is actually served. And surprisingly or not surprisingly, these 2.7 billion workers don't get a lot of fun and love from us. Companies like Resco or you, companies who implement a lot of technologies and software. Based on the statistics, the software VC funding for deskless workers only accounts for about 1% of the entire VC funding. Around 80% of the deskless workers don't even have a corporate email. And about 40% of them can't access company intranets while they're actually on their job. And that has definitely big consequences, right? One of the biggest one, based on the survey that was performed just a couple of years ago, 84% of the deskless workers claim that they don't receive enough direct communication from their managers. If you follow that link that's at the bottom of the slide, you'll find what other consequences that has, right? Deskless workers feel like there's a lack of communication, not enough directives, not even enough goals and direction in general. They lack reporting and feedback on their work, and their supervisors and managers a lot of the time struggle with getting real-time information from their people. So altogether, there's a big disconnect. Huge amount of people on one side, very limited options of how to interact between the deskless workers and their managers and how they actually are able to do their job the most efficiently and effectively. And we at Resco believe this is a huge opportunity. And not only we think that, we're actually doing something about it. So I'm really proud to be able to present the side project of my colleague and friend Rado on a real case study. So let's dive into that, shall we? This is actually a project that is running for about 3 years by now. It's been implemented at a nursing home. In some countries, you might be more familiar with the term senior living home, nursing home, elderly facility, but in general, a place where very experienced and trained staff provides therapy and care services to patients or clients that require a lot of help. What's interesting is that they need to provide the care and services around the clock. They have long shifts. Who this personnel is: therapists, physical therapists, caretakers, nurses, doctors, and a lot of support staff. And during the day and their shifts, they usually do quite a lot of repetitive tasks that are highly structured. Oftentimes they're prescribed, and a lot of them know what to do. It's just kind of hard to understand what's being done and when. Why? Because in this particular nursing home, there was big lack of digital tools. And then talks a little bit about the big challenges that this facility was facing. The quality of care services was suffering a little bit. There was a lack of up-to-date information. Reports were delayed or often missing. So it was hard to say what care services have already been provided and what are still scheduled or about to be done. It was hard to make changes in the prescribed therapy because of the lack of data that were missing for making the informed decisions. The other challenge was lack of skilled, trained, and qualified people. There was pressure on higher efficiency, especially after what we've been through in the 2020 and etc. The amount of people that suffered burnout or wanted to change their profession and their careers was increasing and had direct impact on the number of talent that was at this nursing home. Many times what we actually found out as part of this project was that the therapists and caretakers, they were using one shared computer to update all their work that was done. And sometimes they've only done it once a week when they were done, and kind of it was a time to work on the reporting. And the last challenge was in the area of transparency. The clients at this facility, they all had their families, friends, relatives that wanted to know how they're doing, what kind of services were provided, are they improving, are they getting better, what's the actual status, right? And that wasn't easy to get. And again, it goes back to the first one where we talked about the amount of data and up-to-date reporting. So that was kind of a thing that the nursing home planned to improve. So what did we actually do? We partnered with the nursing home and we agreed that we will implement the Wristask solution. Every member of the personnel and staff was equipped with the digital tool that was running on their smartwatches. Think about it as a mobile app that was guiding them and really navigating them through their busy day. On their watch, they were presented a list of tasks that they had to carry out and perform each day. The managers at this facility were provided with a planning tool. Think about it as a schedule board that allowed them to schedule different tasks. If they saw certain tasks were not fulfilled by a particular therapist, they could reassign them to somebody else or the person who came to the next shift. And at the same time, they were getting real-time information about the work that was already done. At the end of the day or shift, they were able to create automatically reports that they were then able to share with the friends and family if they were asked to. And at the same time, it served as a great proof of what was done and fully documented on their behalf. But how about we take a little pause and instead of further talking about the Wristask solution, we run a little demo.
This demonstration showcases the basic interaction between the task board and smartwatch. The task board is the central hub of the task management solution. It's a custom component fully integrated into the Microsoft Power App environment, serving to manage tasks and activities for employees using smartwatches. The task board provides a clear overview of task completion. It displays all users and their assigned tasks on a timeline. Each task can be in one of 3 states: planned, in progress, or completed. To demonstrate, let's add a new task for an employee. When it's time to perform a planned task, an employee wearing a smartwatch receives a notification via wrist vibration. The employee then starts the task with a simple tap. Upon task completion, a brief checklist appears to confirm the task's success. This data is then sent to the central task hub. The task board reflects the completed task, changing its color from light to dark green. This informs the manager that the job is done. Hovering over the task displays its details, including the result. Task management is an effective system for work coordinators and managers. Using the task board, they can create tasks, assign them to specific employees, and adjust them on the timeline.
Simple, effective, right? The last part I talked about and we didn't show are the reports. And here I have a nice simple example of a typical report that was generated automatically. It gives a weekly overview of all the care services that were provided, including the time and the duration, in an easy to understand and navigate form. This had actually tremendous effect on both the caretakers and therapists because it had their backs. It was a nice proof of all the services they had done. It was a great way to show the clients, look, this was what we've done. And at the same time, at request, it was shared with the friends and relatives of the clients as a proof of a great service that we were providing there to their loved ones. There's another layer of the benefits that we were able to discover thanks to the very proactive approach from the nursing home. Really, the numbers speak for themselves, and they're based on the fact that this was a long-term thing. If you remember, this was a project that's been running for about 3 years. So we were able to collect a lot of data, and we were able to actually see the benefits in real time. Wristask solution is a tool that is backed by data. And what we actually found out is that the efficiency of the nursing and therapy activities improved by 20%. Just by the fact that the therapists, the caretakers, and the nurses were guided throughout the day and kind of managed by the tasks they had to carry out, we saw this tremendous improvement. At the same time, we measured the personal satisfaction, and that, surprisingly or maybe less surprisingly, grew by 30%. The personnel was able to stay on the job, and at the same time, it was that mental crutch that helped them to get through the task in an organized and well-managed way. And the third great benefit was improved transparency. The transparency because of the reports that we were able to share, and that actually led to better quality as perceived by the relatives, and that was the key. Where are we right now? We're in the position and situation where we're ready to start rolling this out. We believe that the opportunities are endless. 2.7 billion workers, that number speaks for itself. We are now looking for partners who are of similar nature, visionaries, and want to make big impact and big change. And we have a goal to start as many pilots as possible in the next 6 months. So if you're interested in joining us on this journey, please feel free to reach out to me directly. You can see my email address right on the slide. And I can't wait to start the dialogue and discussions how we can make the lives of the deskless workers better and provide more efficient services as we go about our lives. With that, I'm passing on the word to my colleague, and I can't wait to learn more about what we have for you today.
Thank you for that, Ivan. Now, joining us here today online is someone who really probably needs no introduction. Regardless, Rick McCutcheon, could you give us a quick intro on yourself and how your journey in the CRM and partner ecosystem led you to where you are today?
I don't know if I can do a quick intro, but I'll give you a bit of intro. So, been doing. I'm a CRM guy, so I'm a Microsoft Dynamics MVP. My whole career has been working with CRM, except for probably the last 5 years, where I've been doing actually more work on the ERP side of things. So, I've had my own firm that we sold several years ago, and since that time, I've spent most of my time working with the partner community, helping them to develop their practices around Dynamics, as well as with the ISV community, helping them with their go-to-market strategies around their products.
Excellent. And you've been in the industry for over 25 years. What keeps you passionate about CRM and the partner ecosystem?
Well, it's a lot of fun. So you kind of look at what's going on today, and working within Dynamics, there's always growth and there's always new things. So it's very, very exciting, and I really enjoy working in the ISV community because you get the innovation from Microsoft, but we also have the innovation happening on the ISV side of things too, and it comes together and really produces some interesting projects to work on.
Sort of an endless stream of novelty. Speaking of which, I wonder if we can quickly transition to the partner ecosystem at Directions EMEA. What were some of the key highlights or the trends that you observed at Directions that you think are going to have the biggest impact?
Well, just the sheer size of this conference. Like, I've been to the Directions conference in North America. It's probably about half the size as the European version. Which the reason is Nav, started in Europe and has a really strong foothold and very established a number of partners. But the energy, lots of energy around Business Central, considering it was only a few years ago there was rumors going on that it was going to be a white labeled product and kind of spun off by itself. So you really see Microsoft doubling down on it now, and it's become a big part of their AI strategy. So it's all good news for the BC partner ecosystem, which when I'm talking to these partners, they're already overbooked, right? Too much business. So that's a high class problem to have.
It's interesting. Apart from AI, did you notice any shifts in the partner ecosystem in terms of what they're prioritizing or what they're investing in?
Well, the big thing is, there's a number of Nav customers, which is the old version of Business Central, still on Nav. So I think a lot of them are very busy with migrating those customers to Business Central, as well as, most of these projects have 5 to 10 ISVs attached to them. So the current projects that these partners are working on are always ongoing upgrades, ongoing new applications, so on and so forth. So they're just busy doing what they do in the ERP business.
Mm-hmm. So, for partners, speaking of Business Central, for partners who are focused on Power Platform and Business Central, what are some other new opportunities that you see on the horizon?
Well, it's going to keep expanding, right? So as we move people to the cloud, we really move away from standalone applications to, I'm in the Microsoft cloud, I'm in Azure, I'm doing my work. So what we have with modern workplace, what we have with the ERPs and the CRM, and we're really seeing Power Apps as that gap filler, in between everything. So it's an incredible amount of work, and customers are moving forward, right? Because they have to be more competitive, and technology is going to get them there.
Right. Speaking of that gap, are there specific challenges that you think these partners are going to have to address if they want to stay competitive?
Oh, absolutely. Manpower or labor, we'll say, for one thing. There's just not enough resources that are trained in the world of ERP to work with all these clients. So it's always a challenge for Microsoft and for the partner ecosystem to make sure that they have trained professionals being able to put out in the field. In saying that, you could really see that there was a younger feel to this Directions conference, and I was, glad to see that there was a lot of, people below 30 years old out there, learning their craft and attending these sessions.
Young blood. All right, there's that novelty again. So, I mean, if we're talking about, advanced mobility is a big thing. In terms of leveraging mobility to enhance productivity, drive innovation, et cetera, do you see any specific use cases that stand out now?
Oh, absolutely. So, as we move forward with the cloud and companies wanting everything to come together, it becomes more and more important for, let's get rid of spreadsheets, let's get rid of, still pen and paper out there, and let's give our mobile workers, something that is a little more robust. So, if we look like industries like forestry, oil and gas, mining, marine, there's a lot of remote people that go offline. Service industries, that manufacturing. We've got one, great partner with Resco who does elevator maintenance, right? So these people go offline and they need their technology, or they just don't stay productive. And companies are looking really to fill that gap. So I think there's a huge opportunity for Resco in this Business Central marketplace.
Right. I mean, so still with our eye on the future, I mean, looking at next year specifically, do you have any advice that you would want to give partners navigating all of the recent changes in the field, maybe specifically around CRM and sales productivity?
Oh, absolutely. So, stay focused and don't get too far ahead of yourself. We get a lot of times we get really amazed by all the new technology, right? And AI is great. We have to understand AI. We got to start working with AI. But how much AI are customers really absorbing, right? It's a lot slower growth than we would like, just because we have to get their other systems in order. There's, in order to have good AI, you need good data. In order to have good data, we've got to get all these standalone systems into one into one database, including, spreadsheets and standalone applications that remote workers are working with. So partners are really going to be, working on those types of projects, and data is going to be the most important thing, I think, for the next 3 to 5 years in order to leverage AI.
So are there any standout companies or partnerships that you think are setting a great example?
Oh, absolutely. We'll stay in the sort of Business Central ecosystem for now. Resco is one of them. The stuff that you were showing at the show with an advanced mobility plus the Wristask, the watch, is going to be a big factor, I think, in productivity for the remote worker. If I look at stuff like the group called Data Courage are doing with AI, and not so much with the Microsoft Copilots, but with AI from a data source perspective is quite amazing. And then other companies like Binary Stream that have been in the market for a long time, that are kind of moving all their products into this space and offering more for customers. And in fact, the booths at Directions EMEA were pretty much packed the whole time. Like, it was just the partners getting out there, talking to these ISVs, finding out what's new. And I think we're seeing kind of a lot of innovation right across the board.
Right, excellent. So I'm a bit biased, but I would say that training and certification plays a huge role in helping partners stand out. Are there any specific areas that you'd recommend they focus on?
Oh, absolutely. So it's got to be ongoing training, right? So I think our partners need to get out of where they've been. So from a CRM perspective, I was always a CRM partner. We just learned what we had to know about CRM. We didn't care about ERP as much. Now, Power Platform and AI are really moving us out of that space, and I think Microsoft really expects us to get these Azure certifications right. So I think there's a lot to learn just from what's going on with the cloud, what's going on with AI. And, the partners of the future are the ones that are going to be caught up in continuous learning. And in saying that, the ISVs that are going to be successful in the future will require a greater depth of knowledge, just in time knowledge for these partners. because they're not going to learn your product just for the sake of learning your product. They're going to learn your product when they have an opportunity, because they've got so much to learn right now that we can't expect someone to say, hey, I like Resco, I'm going to send 3 people for certification. No, they won't do that until they get an opportunity. So, it puts a little bit of pressure on companies like Resco to have this just-in-time training available.
Good advice. Look, this has been great. Thank you so much. Just some final parting words for us. What are some of the biggest challenges that Microsoft partners are currently facing? Do you have any practical advice for getting around them?
Oh, well, it's growth, right? You need to keep growing as a company in order to be able to provide the level of services that our customers want. Again, I said before, I used to be a CRM partner or an ERP partner or a modern workplace partner. Now they just expect you to be a Microsoft partner and be able to either give them all the answers or have strong relationships with other people that can get the answers for them. So more pressure on understanding the cloud and migrating sophisticated customers forward.
Thank you so much, Rick. We're hugely grateful to you for coming on. Thank you so much. All the best for the coming year.
Okay, thank you, and looking forward to our next conversation.
Absolutely. I'll see you then. Right, next up, Lukas is here to give us a short walkthrough in optimizing the application footprint, breaking down how reducing metadata like tables and columns can help make your apps leaner and more efficient.
Thank you, Nick. Welcome to the technical part of our partner update. I will continue with our last use case. So a bit of a recap. At the last partner update, we were talking about customer, performing store checks and asset inspections. Our customer wanted to have an app that will provide inspectors only the data necessary for their job for the store and asset inspections. This was a specific request to streamline their inspectors' use of the application and to conform the security concerns. To make the inspectors effective, the data should be kept as minimal as possible. And the last time we took care of the records number or the records that were available to user using the sync filters to limit those records to be downloaded to the application and specifically setting an always full sync for accounts and assets tables because they are not identified as changed using the standard incremental synchronization, and they were not changed when a store check was assigned to a user. So if you want to learn more, you can always check the previous episode of our webinar. So to have a minimal data footprint, it means to only keep required records on the application's local database, and as this was a requirement from our customer, and even if it's not the most effective setup in certain situations, because having more records in the database without the need to perform partially full synchronization of certain tables is also a possibility, but only if the use case is different. So let's go back to our inspector application. When building it, we were making sure to give the customer and the inspector only records that they actually needed. But there is much more, or there's more that we can do to optimize the application's local database and the data transfer and keep it at a minimal rate, basically as possible. So what to optimize? We will optimize the tables that are used for the application and the table columns. Again, in this example today, I intentionally forgot to exclude one table, one entity from the mobile application. It is contacts. On the mobile app, because we are limiting other records, contacts take about 17% of the database space. And with additional unused columns, we can save up to 20% of the storage on the device. It may not look like an end of the world because we use setup with minimal number of records. But imagine you have an application with 50 tables, 100 columns per table, and with about 2 million records overall, or even more. That's not an unusual setup. Reducing data by 20% can save hundreds of megabytes on the storage and during transfer, and especially minutes of synchronization and prevent users basically from waiting longer than necessary to get their data refreshed. How to optimize? So for new projects, we can start from beginning. Use the case, the scope, purpose, select the specific tables that we need, columns to start for the UI, for the rules or additional JavaScript logic. Basically pretty simple to keep track of the data footprint. So start from bottom and start enabling the data. And there are ways that you can select those tables and columns that will be actually used or disable those that will not be used. But there is also a situation when you come to an existing application. Let's say the customer started to build their own application on their own, with their own people, with their own team, or you pick up a project from a different vendor, and basically you need to start inspecting or checking what's actually being used in the application at all, because you need to first make sure that you understand the use case, go with the customer, and then you get a project that you need to somehow optimize. Like when you come to a project that needs maintenance. Customer had their own team to implement the Resco application, and now they require professional help for various reasons. For example, they grew, they need their resources to be assigned to different projects, and they want to outsource their mobility to a partner like you. So after performing all the discovery steps about the scope, use case, functionality, there is also a requirement to check whether the application is optimized when it comes to at least the data footprint. And in this case, or even new or existing, we still have tools that can help you optimize or get to the best of the optimization of the footprint for the data. We are going to use two tools, one inside mobile CRM application directly, and then Woodford, where we are going to check for additional unused or not used tables and columns, and to actually take the changes in the project. Let's start with the mobile application. So directly inside the mobile CR app, there is a tool called Storage Analyzer. This will help you get a lot of information about the local database. In this case, it can allow us to identify empty tables or even columns, and removing these will not help with the storage optimization, but at least it will help with performance of the synchronization, because we don't have to check for additional tables that are not being used and so on. On the screen, you can see a list of empty columns on the account table. So these are the columns that we will then in Woodford disable, because they are seemingly not used in the application. Keep in mind that this is valid only for the user or for the mobile application that is used to get this storage analyzer. So it is always a good thing to have also overview about the project itself. So whether these tables or whether these columns are really not used, or if it's just a situation for that specific user and other user with different, let's say, role or permission actually uses those fields. So this is just like an idea. These are the columns that you may need to check. You can also create additional reports about the local database, and you can send them all into your email so that you can check afterwards and make a thorough investigation of the storage database or of the local database usage and how big it is, what are the biggest entities, and to tune up the synchronization even further. Okay, so now let's go to Woodford so that I can show you what we found out. Okay, welcome to Woodford. I have my project opened at the moment that we used for the last use case. And here I will navigate to Data Model Explorer. This is one of the newer features that allows you to see an overview of the whole application project. Here we can see basically everything about the project itself, what entities or tables are being used, how many enabled versus all fields that are on those specific tables, which are the unused or potentially unused fields, what is the synchronization strategy. So for example, here we see that For our accounts and assets, we have the full sync setup, and for the others, we have the standard synchronization. We can see also the conflict strategy, whether we have linked sync filters and additional properties. Here you can specify what you want to see, or even some kind of a legend. And we can start with the check usage button here. This allows us to see the list of all the, at this tab, unused fields for certain entities. So for example, on account, we have 5. We have business units, fields, and so on and so on. These unused fields means that they are enabled in the project, but they are not used in any view or form or rules. I will intentionally skip JavaScript because we'll get to that later on. Then we have possible unused fields. These are the fields that may be used, for example, on the view, but they are there enabled or allowed on the view, but they are not used in the UI. This means that, for example, we can be using them for additional reasons. So this is just like a reminder that this can be checked. And then, of course, the list of all the used fields that are actually used in the UI and the mobile application, other than just being enabled. From the Data Model Explorer, we can jump directly into specific entity or table, and we can use the check usage here as well. So I'll make an example of the account. So I'll go check usage, and basically here we see the same that was in the Data Model Explorer, just as a part. And we can specifically enable or disable or unselect or select the fields that we want to, for example, disable. And I don't see any usage of these 5, so I'll just disable them. And they are disabled from the mobile application itself. And that's basically it. So it's really simple. I can now go back and check for the possible unused field, and I will disable these as well, because I'm sure that they are not being used and it will not harm any problem. You can always use the validate option for the project. It will also check if you unintentionally didn't disable a field that is actually being used in the project itself, so kind of a opposite of the check usage possibility. And I also said that we have an entity or table to disable. So I'll just go to contact, and you can disable the whole table here directly. There is additional table that I don't use, which is the business unit. This is a table that usually is used if you use it for some kind of filters or additional logic, but if you don't, you can also disable it as well. So there are certain tables or certain fields in tables, the system ones, that can be disabled right away. I mentioned JavaScript, so let's go to account. JavaScript is a bit tricky at the moment because we don't have this kind of check there. So if you are sure that you are using certain fields or columns that are used in JavaScript and they are being displayed in the unused fields, you can prevent them from being disabled or checked by this functionality, and this is by whitelisting them. So if you know that there are certain columns that you definitely need to keep for this entity because you are using them, for example, in JavaScript, and it's not picked up by this check usage, you can always select them and make them kind of excluded from the analysis. In the upcoming version, we are going to take care of the JavaScript fields as well, to at least show them as potentially used or unused, because you can use your additional libraries and so on. So it's a bit more complex, but we are going to get there as well. This granular approach may seem a bit like an overkill for this scenario because we have really limited data for our inspectors. But believe me, we have seen projects that had more than 150 tables with more than 300 columns in certain tables there. And this also caused records to be several kilobytes large. And when synchronizing, there were timeouts on the server because the responses were too big and it took too long to process to get the results to the application. And basically, using this optimization approach, the partner was able to narrow down the number of columns to 50 and basically reduced the size of the database, the stress on the server, and also they came from nearly an hour of synchronization to a couple of minutes. So there definitely are reasons why to optimize. Thank you, and back to Nick.
Thanks as always, Lukas. Now, on to some certification updates. Today, we're digging into some key changes to our certification programs. If you've been part of our journey so far, you know that certifying your skills through Resco Academy is not only vital to sharpening your skills with our technology, but it's also a component of the partner agreement itself. We've got some important updates to share with you about how we're evolving these paths, making them more practical and accessible for your teams. Let's get into it. In the past, our certification offering was pretty straightforward. We had two core paths, Resco Essentials and Resco Advanced. Essentials gave new users the fundamentals they needed to get started with Resco, covering the basic concepts and the setup skills. This was the path that was ideal for building a foundation, especially for partners onboarding new team members or those new to our tools. Then there was the Advanced certification, which took a deeper dive, exploring topics like business logic, report design, and sync troubleshooting. It's been an effective way for those wanting to level up and really master Resco's capabilities. Now, we've taken a closer look at these pathways and decided it was time to give them a more focused structure. We've listened to your feedback, and the new certification setup is all about being more targeted, more flexible, and ultimately more aligned with how you want to learn and apply these skills. So, what does the new structure look like? We are breaking down our existing certificates into more specialized learning paths. Instead of just Essentials and Advanced, you'll see new categories that let you focus on the exact skills that matter most to your role. We've kept what worked from the Essentials and the Advanced certifications, but reimagined it in a way that's more modular and, importantly, more adaptable to individual needs. These new paths start off with a distinct overview for business users, now called Resco Basics. This isn't a certification path. From there, though, we now branch into detailed practical learning paths divided by product family. Mobility Essentials is for folks who work with advanced mobility, focusing on offline, mobile application development, maintenance, troubleshooting, etc. And Productivity Essentials for those of you who are Power Platform professionals needing to build Power Apps. These courses will provide you with the tools necessary to build Power Apps with better UI, better functionality. Finally, our Advanced certificate is available for those who have completed Mobility Essentials and want to expand their understanding of troubleshooting and back-end logic. The point here is flexibility. We want you and your team to invest time in learning that has immediate payoffs, allowing for specialization where it counts. If you currently have a valid Essentials certificate, you can recertify into one or both of our new Essentials tracks, Mobility and Productivity. As always, Essentials certificates are valid for 1 year after completion, and the Mobility Advanced certification will be valid for 3. This new approach means that even if you already hold a certification, you can seamlessly continue your learning journey by choosing the track that best aligns with your goals and your role. Again, this is about giving you the flexibility to keep your skills sharp and relevant without having to start from scratch. These changes are just the beginning, and we think they're going to make a big difference in how you interact with our solutions and the process of learning them. That's it. Done and done. Thank you again so much for joining us today. If you have any questions or need any more information, feel free to reach out. We are here to help. Don't forget to complete the feedback form below to let us know what topics you'd like to cover, because we read it all and we'll do our best to include your ideas in future videos. We're excited to see you again next year for the first partner update of 2025, but that's not all for us. Before the end of the year, we will be releasing a new 3-day masterclass from the 10th to the 12th of December, which will cover expanding mobile capabilities, back-office integration, and Power Platform enhancements. Not to mention a roundtable discussion organized by our own Jakub Beiler with MVPs about directions and Business Central opportunities. So for more on that, check for details on our website. Until then, take care.